There's been a full year of hand-wringing in Washington and among Democrats grappling with the question, how do we fight Donald Trump? It's an important one. Well, the Democratic Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, has an idea. Sue them a lot. With Bonta at the helm, California sued the Trump administration 52 times in 2025. California has filed or joined lawsuits to block federal domestic funding freezes and mass layoffs at the Department of Education, and Trump's orders to cut off SNAP nutrition benefits to 42 million Americans. Bonta told the San Francisco Chronicle last month that in about 80% of the cases, the courts have ruled in the state's favor, or the Trump administration has dropped its opposition and agreed to a settlement. If you're winning 80% of your battles, you're doing something well. Well enough that we can call it a model for how state elected officials can stand up to Donald Trump. Now, just this week, Bonta in California notched another win. President Trump announced on Tuesday that he would be pulling the National Guard out of several major American cities, including Los Angeles. And it came after California sued to force the National Guard out and won. It's a stark reminder to the country right now. If you stand up to Trump and try to stop him, you can win, maybe even 80% of the time, depending. Joining us now is Rob Bonta, the Attorney General of the state of California. It's great to see you. Happy New Year. There is a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, as you are well aware. Federal courts are stacked with Republican appointees. And yet, I mean, I've just gone through this. You've been going into court and you've been winning. Why do you think this has been such a fruitful avenue in the effort to fight back against Trump?
It's a reminder that the rule of law is in full effect, and that when you fight to make sure that the law is enforced and implemented, you can win. And in front of the U.S. Supreme Court recently, with a 6-3 majority to multiple cases where Trump appointees and other Republican appointees have said things like, this is the most blatant violation of the Constitution I've ever seen, or the Trump administration is untethered from the facts, and other extreme language that represents the extreme actions that they're seeing before them. We're winning because it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. We go to court when we have the facts and the law on our side. We only go to court when we believe the law is broken, not because we have any ideological or political difference or grievance. It's just based on the law and the facts. And in courts of law, they are sanitized spaces where politics should not penetrate those spaces, and the law and the facts will prevail. And so that's why we've won over 80% of the time. We've protected $168 billion of funding for the state of California. It's $3 trillion nationwide, protected constitutional rights and freedoms, and we're going to continue to fight. It's 52 and counting. If Trump doesn't break the law, we don't sue. If he breaks the law, we sue, and most of the time, we win.
He seems to have every intention of breaking the law, so you're going to probably have a busy year.
That's been his trend.
In many respects, I mean, California has obviously been a top target of President Trump's. It's also tried to be a model for pushing back in many ways, as we've been discussing. And I just mentioned it as well. I mean, Trump, he pulled the National Guard troops out of L.A., plus Chicago and Portland. But as you all know, they're still in New Orleans and Memphis, and of course here in D.C., which has a slightly different legal situation. Right. But how can other states or even cities use California as a model now that you've kind of won this to keep the National Guard out of their communities?
Yeah, we were the first state, and LA the first city where Trump deployed the National Guard. And so I think we created essentially the blueprint for how to defend yourself against unlawful actions when Trump invokes laws that shouldn't be used in the situations that we see on the ground. And I know that the other states have used similar approaches to ours. They reached out to us, and we spoke to the AG of Oregon, the AG of Illinois, to make sure they knew what we were looking at, the laws that we were pursuing and exploring. And these are laws that haven't been the subject of a lot of judicial review over the years, because there hasn't been a president who's done something so extreme, blatant, and brazen by trying to deploy military in American cities to be involved in civilian law enforcement in violation of the Posse Comitatus Act without any emergency or invasion or inability to execute the federal laws. And so we essentially handed over all of our thinking and legal approaches, and it was used by others, and I think it can continue to be used. Trump shows no signs of slowing down from his desire to use the National Guard as his private roaming army and police force, and to treat it as the Royal Guard. So I think we have a lot of important learnings that we are willing to share with others so they can defend themselves appropriately as well.
There's so many things Trump and his administration are doing to sort of test the law. I mean, they seem so outrageous at times, but that seems to be the trend, too. California has a new law as of yesterday, as you well know, but viewers may be learning, banning law enforcement officers from covering their faces in most circumstances. And I think so many of us have watched in kind of horror and seeing what is happening in communities with ICE agents and others really terrorizing people and not identifying themselves and feeling they don't have the need to do that. The Trump administration is, of course, suing to block this bill. There, I guess, is some, you can tell me I'm wrong here, but some federal precedent. I guess they would argue on their side. But tell us more about why you think you can win this case, because it's again, another one which is going to be very applicable in other cities across the country.
Yeah, let me first just say I very much agree that California is a role model for how to stand up for your rights and push back against the unlawful actions, the blatant, brazen, consistent, frequent unlawful actions of this Trump presidency. And passing laws by the legislature is one way to do that. And if you can't tell the difference between an ICE agent who's masked and not identifying who they are and a criminal who may be trying to harm you, kidnap you, that is a major problem. And everyone knows that, anyone with common sense. And that these ICE agents who are masked and not willing to identify themselves, when every other law enforcement officer does in most circumstances, police officers on patrol and sheriff's deputies on patrol, they don't wear masks in normal circumstances. So it's a major problem, and communities are terrorized and traumatized, and we're in court defending the laws of the state of California, including this law. It's our job, it's our role, it's our duty and obligation, and we believe we're going to prevail in this case, as we believe in nearly all cases that we can prevail and defend the laws. If something is we have duties at the court to concede in certain circumstances, but this is not one of them. And we're going to fight as hard as we can to defend this very important law passed by Senator Scott Wiener.
Rob Bonta, Attorney General of the state of California. I hope you got some sleep. I hope you have a good stock of coffee out there. I mean, 52 cases is about one a week. You don't need to be a mathematician for that. So thank you for being here and for doing all you've been doing over the last year.
Thank you. We got a full tank of gas, full of energy, ready for whatever comes next. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Thank you. Okay.